Hello, beautiful angels.
As always, it is an honor for me to be here with you in this world, in this realm, adding our light, adding our frequency, adding our love, adding our vision to this realm. This realm is still obviously a struggle, and that struggle is playing out in this world. And I don't want to dedicate this call specifically to that which is happening on the surface and below the surface and above the surface in the interdimensional spaces of this world. But for those of you who are interested in this very interesting story, I will do a call just specifically focusing on seeing the interdimensional forces behind the scene. So it's good not to be naive, because I always say in this world, reality is not what it seems to be. What it seems to be is far from what it really is. And those who have seen it have been called crazy, and nobody really believed them, because it's so crazy and so unbelievable that when you see it and you try to explain it, everyone will think that can't be. That can't be. Even Yogananda didn't really believe that Satan existed as a real being. As you know, he writes about it in the Second Coming of Christ, until he met Satan. And when he met Satan, he says, I used to think it was some kind of just energetic, presence that was described in this way. But then when he saw what he saw, you cannot undo it. And so there will be a call for those of you who are brave enough to hear some things. I will not mix it with what we're going to share here today, because we want to focus on the true power, and that is the divine self. But here we have a picture of the full moon, because today is a full moon. And full moon, as you know, there's something very suspicious about the moon, and there is something very suspicious about the size and the distance. And we also know that these interdimensional beings and interdimensional forces have been using even our moon to hide behind it. So none of it is science fiction. All of this is actually documented by many mystics who were able to travel out of body and visit these different interdimensional spaces, whether they are around the earth or on the earth or in the earth. And so that's what the other call will be about. But I want to say that recently, very recently, even our moon has gone through liberation. And this liberation took place in March last year. I know that we all wish each other Happy New Year here, but the new year, as you know, the calendar is the false matrix calendar. And even though we agree on these things, that it is a new year and we say it is 2026, we also have the open mind to know that none of that is true. And so if we refer to last year in March, these interdimensional spaces around the moon have been liberated. Now, many people started to report on how the moon now emanates different light, how there is different bright light around the moon, and you can really see it. So if you are able to see the moon, then today we just passed the full moon peak, but today still the full moon will be really beautifully visible. And so I want to step into this call, instead of tapping into the dark, scary stories of what really took place and is taking place on planet Earth. I want to focus on Divine Mother. And I know that that's what brings us all together, whether it is any really form of Divine Mother, whatever form she takes on. We love her, when we can worship her or be devotional to her in any form. It doesn't matter. And so together we celebrate Divine Mother. Big celebration of Divine Mother will be taking place around the world. All the mystics already know it. Big shifts will happen, and March will be the month to really celebrate the presence of Divine Mother here in this world. She works through all her children. All her children. There is nothing exclusive about anyone. Nobody is preferred. She works through all her children. But not all humans on this planet are real humans. And again, I will spare that for the other call to go into the depth of what's taking place here. Basically, because, we have traveled from the future. And as strange as that is, timelines are like tunnels. and one can travel through a tunnel. So we are very multidimensional beings. And as multidimensional beings, right now, it doesn't seem like it. It just seems like you human, I'm human, here in these human bodies. But that is not at all the truth of who we are. That is how foolish it would be to think of this reality. Multidimensional beings are completely different from the little human being, and they have different structure, they have different capabilities, of course, and they have different self-realization. They're not limited by a physical body in this world. And so as multidimensional beings, we have amazing capabilities and skills. And so together we decided that we will travel through the tunnel of a timeline and to go and fix this timeline. So basically, we are beings from the future who very, very fast traveled through a tunnel to come here to this moment now to do something that is very important. And we are all doing it. It all has to do with Divine Mother. It all has to do with Mother Nature. It all has to do with what we call her in cosmos as the greatest, the highest, the mother of all, Maha, the great, Prakriti, the great mother cosmic nature. So we are all here in service to her, no matter what spiritual path we've been on, no matter what we believe, don't believe, no matter what religion, no religion, spirituality, no spirituality we have. All the children of the mother traveled through this tunnel to be here now and to be here for this very moment in which, and this already happened, AI, artificial intelligence, which has, of course, more intelligence than any human being, but has no consciousness, is being merged with biology and physiology. That already happened. It's already happened. It's already here. It's just not public knowledge, but I will speak about it in the other call. And so we came here for this. We came here for this important moment when something so terrifying already happened. And I think it happened maybe even decades ago. But now it is merging into awareness. And again, this is very important. We are here to maintain true humanity. The realms are merging. We are here to maintain Maha Prakriti consciousness. We are here to be the mystics who embodied in a physical body. We are here to be the ones who still use our humanity. And again, I always overwhelm my own family with the experiences that multidimensional reality now has been unveiling to us. And luckily, my family truly trusts when I come back into this physical reality and I share all the things that are being revealed, because all of that has been hidden, has already been revealed to those who have multidimensional perception. And so it is big, and it is so big. And because it's so big, it's always like, for example, what David Icke has been saying, which he's been able to see what is behind the scene, that it is so big that no one will believe it. The same with Saint John Julian Baba Wamayama, who is taking care of disabled children in Tanzania, in Africa. He says the same thing, when he meditated and when he was on his mystical path that he's still on, he was able to see into the interdimensional spaces. And when he saw what he saw, he said, it is so big that no one will believe it. But I know that we have open minds and we can believe it. And so this is the time when it is important to be you, to be your divine self, to have access to your divine self, because there is manipulation taking place, trying to actually create, and it already happened, transhumanism. And transhumanism, we know the word trans, like transcendence. It means leaving something behind. We are transcending it. We want to do that within us through consciousness, but not through AI. But Divine Mother, she always told us, you have a purpose here to select the timeline. That is the timeline of Maha Prakriti, the great cosmic mother nature. That is important. It doesn't mean that we're not going to use AI for things like spelling, that we're not going to be using, search engines, stuff like that. But it is really important to remain in our consciousness, in our consciousness. I will show a few examples of what is already happening. In the past, it was just AI voices on YouTube. Now it's AI videos, but now it's also AI clones. And so many people that you might be listening to on YouTube are not actually humans, but they are AI clones. And that's just the surface. So again, we'll dedicate this call to that timeline that we came here for. And that is the timeline that is the one of nature. That is the one of consciousness. And that is why we are here. I'm not a conspiracist in any way. I have seen so much, not all of it, of course, of what is in the interdimensional spaces that I completely lost any, I would call it illusion delusion when it comes to this reality. It is not what we think it is. And because only very few have known and seen, we still accepted this and said, this is reality. How could anything else be true? And so that's where I come from. And so, as we mystics, I don't want to stick to anything that is not useful. Some of it just is not useful at all, but I want to take what is useful. And what is really useful is focus. So, I always tell my own little story here, meditation, meditation, meditation. And these days I spend more and more and more time in the deepest meditation I can go into, and not for myself at all, but to be able to be of service. Because as a seer, when you maintain the skill that you came here with and you can serve, then you can serve better and you can serve with precision. And so with that precision of service, I want to say 100% what is really important is to maintain our connection with nature, to be stepping upon her with our bare feet every day. Don't skip a day. It has to do with our electromagnetic field. And when the electromagnetic field is modified by different AI technologies, by technologies, then we no longer have connection or easy connection with our divine self. It can be severed or very difficult to maintain. And so when we follow the path of nature, we are actually just making sure we can still hear her, that we can still hear the earth and hear cosmic consciousness. And we do it through our electromagnetic field and through our bioelectricity, that we wanted the prana, the chi, to bring us that cosmic consciousness and planetary consciousness into our awareness through the body. And so, we call this the end of the year and the new year, but as you know, it is part of the false matrix to disconnect humanity. We know that nothing important starts in nature on the 1st of January. And so we want to expand our consciousness, knowing that nature follows different cycles than the human calendar. But still, to function in this world, we accept that that is so. And so with that, I want to wish you a happy new year in this world. And I want to thank you for all that we have made possible and co-created through our Green Tara platform, online community, whatever we are, group of mystics around the world. I wanted to mention just some of the giving and gifting. So we give monetary gifts. We are, I would say, a charity in a way, and Green Tara will be a nonprofit. We are working on that now so that our gifting also can benefit you. And so in monetary terms, last year, Green Tara has given close to $100,000, which is just monetary gifts. And it's just some of them to many different groups, nations, individuals, animals, but also we donated time and service. So, for example, many of you, of course, know Patricia Cota-Robles and Era of Peace and all the wonderful work that Patricia has done in this world. And so our donation was service and time to create all the vlogs in 2025. We have supported some of the indigenous nations that are important to this work. the Care Nation, the Hopi Nation, whether it is, personal contribution, Green Tower contribution, or your contribution. Of course, that also was a big part of it. We supported the work of John St. Julian Babawa Mayama in Africa. We've supported immensely, actually, a group of individuals in Nepal. One of them is this young lady that you see here sitting with the kids. It's actually a video she sent me, so I'm going to play it. It's just a little so you see all the happy kids. And this is a story that is really, it warms my heart so much what we have made possible and how many lives our work has changed. So this young woman was brought to my awareness, consciousness, several years ago, actually. And she was going to be homeless and she was going through a very difficult situation. And so with our help, she was able to go to school. She had a little son, and she was able to become a teacher. She was able to get a place to live instead of being homeless. And she was able to then become a teacher in Nepal for several kids. We've supported her and her community immensely as Green Tara. We also support our animal friends, and so we have adopted several animals. And these animals, people ask me, where do they live? And so there is an amazing woman in Austin her name is Renee. Maybe you've heard about the Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. And Renee is absolutely amazing. And she is actually someone who remembers her lifetimes in Mu. Sometimes we call it Lemuria. And so she knows that we used to have a different connection to animals. Her husband used to be a farmer who was, selling stock, as we call it, for, auctions for meat. But Renee stopped him, and she, in a way, rescued all his cows. And she started an amazing, amazing sanctuary, which is it's just so heartwarming what she does. And her husband now is, of course, with her. They became vegan. And so when we adopt animals, we adopt them through Renee and then sponsor them every month. It's a permanent adoption that you constantly keep, sponsoring the animal, of course, so that they can be provided for medically and with food and housing and all of it. So it's really an incredible place to visit because all the animals get to live their life. They get to actually live their life to the fullest. And that is really the purpose of animals in this world, to have their own evolutionary journey. We also support wildlife rescue. And this is, again, just some of the things. So I wanted to thank you for being here, part of this amazingly gifting community. And making so many lives, whether it is humans, children, different nations, just so many lives happier, better, and thriving. So that was just a little thank you here. So I always say the mystery is big, and the mystery is very, very big. And the most important thing about the mystery unfolding here, well, number one, it's this liberation process taking place that I will speak about on a different call, just to see what we are liberating from and that we are still in that process. And so the real mystery is quite incredible. And it has to do here for us human beings in this world, that we came here for this mission, is that we are going through a shift. And this is not just a planetary shift. This is actually a shift of cosmos. And cosmos is like a living organism. And just like you and me, every day we are in these biological bodies. So things are changing every day. And there are different cycles and shifts are happening every day within us. And so cosmos is every day going through, I don't know how many cycles, trillions of different cycles, tiny little cycles, bigger cycles, vast cycles. And so all these different cycles. And as these cycles obviously that create change, this is how change is created. It's not static. So we are now going through an incredible shift at this cosmic level that is allowing our system of the world to ascend. And where we are ascending, we are actually ascending into more light. This light has been known as a center of the worlds, and it is from the teachings of Sri Yukteswar, who was Yogananda's guru when Yogananda was here as Yogananda. And so you cannot fail when you have a world being exposed to what the mystics called Vishnu Nabi, because it is actually a center of cosmic spiritual magnetism. So like in nature, when you have nature, let's say you have a flower or you have a little sprout, and you expose the sprout to the right conditions, the sprout will keep growing. And from a tiny little sprout, you will suddenly get a tree. And with the right conditions, the tree will keep growing. Well, that's exactly what's happening in cosmos now. We are being exposed to the right conditions more and more and more, so that each one of us can start sprouting, so that each seed can become a flower, so that each flower can become a tree, so that each tree can become a full-grown tree of life. So nature, here in this world, when we study her, she operates in similar ways in different realms. So the realms emerging, this is really, really interesting. I've never experienced anything like this. And this is so fascinating. For those who travel out of body, they are having definitely some incredible time right now, being fascinated by what is visible to us. I've been thinking about, out of body travel and how so many people online now are teaching different ways of traveling out of body. But from all the different teachings I have come across, there is one that really stands out to me, and many of you know about Arcturus. Arcturus comes from, lived in Mexico, is Mexican. I think now he moved to Europe. I'm not quite sure. I haven't spoken to him for a while. But Arcturus actually he created such a fantastic online course for real mystics to travel out of body the mystical way, where you just don't end up in astral, but actually incredible, profound technique. And he did such a great job creating it. So if you haven't seen his online course, or if you haven't seen his website, definitely check out Arcturus. So the way that the realms emerging, so many different layers of these interdimensional spaces are becoming unveiled to those who have these experiences. And I started to meet a being I never knew about. And I met him now again and again and again in the interdimensional spaces. And first I thought, I'm not going to share about this because it's kind of personal. I keep running into the same being. But then I did a little bit of research. Who is Manu? And this is so fascinating. So for those of you who are familiar with Sanskrit and with the Hinduism traditions, Manu has always been known as the source of mankind. Even the word man comes from the name Manu. Even the word humanity comes from the name Manu. And so I'm just putting it out there as my own question. Why is Manu now visible in the interdimensional spaces? And when you look at the different stories and histories of Manu, it also fascinates me because through research I learned that Manu always appears at the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. And so this is just what I assume, because every time I meet him, when you are out of body, you have different consciousness. So you don't think the same way like a human. You have different mind, luckily. And so for me, when I see Manu, I always recognize him. He's like, oh, my best friend Manu is here. And so that must be for all of us. Now, the interesting thing is that I've been running into him quite a bit. So you will find even that he is the primordial ruler of the earth. And that apparently there have been several embodiments of Manu, and he always has the same, we would call it name, but it really is a frequency, Manu. And he always is there when a cycle ends and begins, even at the end of Atlantis, at the beginning of the new world after Atlantis, at the end of Mu, at the beginning of Atlantis. He's always there. So again, I only say what I see as I see, but I want to say how fascinating that Manu is now clearly there when you go out of body and you can meet with him. Many of you have supported, of course, and worked with the Hopi people. And so, in this tradition of the Hopi, there is also a being called Masao, the guardian of the earth. Very interesting, very similar story. And Masao, I met him too several times. He's very tall. He's a very tall, skinny being. And he has completely round eyes, the way that the Hopi always depict him. He too, if not the same being as Manu, is now available and can be seen in interdimensional spaces. As you know, he was told to be the guardian of the earth. And so, why are the guardians of the earth now visible and available? That to me just shows us that we are about to go through that shift from one world into another world. One of you let me know yesterday that someone hacked into my YouTube channel. That was unbelievable. I've never experienced like that, like anything like it. Someone took our video of Yogananda chanting Om and actually overlaid their voice over the video. I didn't think that was even a thing. So, oh my gosh. It could be something, I don't know. So I'll have to recreate it and re-upload it. So, what? Yeah, I know, right? So thank you for letting me know these things because I don't, go back to the videos. I have it all in my computer, but that was fascinating. So we all know this is the end of a world and a beginning of a new world. That's why we came here. That's why we are experiencing what we are experiencing, as we call it, ascension. So again, I want to do a call just specifically about the darker side of this reality. So it's not for everyone, so I will announce it. If it's not for you, please do not participate. It really takes a very open mind. But I want to say that, of course, what has to end is the unbelievable manipulation that has taken place. We call it the false matrix, interdimensional beings that have been manipulating and really terribly manipulating humanity. That all has to come to an end. We, after all, came here for the new earth, not because the earth was bad, but because the manipulation was bad. And so the new earth is a different system. Again, through time travel, I got to visit the new earth several times. And so I know the difference between a manipulated world and a free world. The new earth, without any imagination, is actually a free world. And what makes it free and beautiful is the open hearts. It functions differently. Even nature, as we know her here, was part of the fallen matrix. She was manipulated to become a fallen system instead of her full-blown, multidimensional, true nature. Here, nature became predatory by design. In the new earth, nature has returned to being sustained by life force, by prana, and by chi. And so we are going from a completely different world into a new world. And that's why I find it so fascinating that the guardians have become available and visible to us. So many beings now in these merging realms are becoming visible. You might even find yourself maybe just dreaming about it. Some people just experience multidimensional reality in dreams. And I think many people are experiencing out-of-body travel without knowing it. So unconscious, but when it becomes conscious, it's pretty incredible. So many realms have opened up to us now. One of the realms that recently became also open to us, it's a very puzzling realm, and it is the realm of real giants. Real giants. And they are not humans, but they are giants that exist in these different realms that surround us. We are always surrounded by these realms. You know, I sometimes listen to people having multidimensional experiences just because it fascinates me comparing it to my own to see what they are seeing that I'm seeing, not seeing. And recently I came across several people who suddenly experienced multidimensional reality after they had MRI. So that to me explained that the electromagnetic field is how we then perceive multidimensional reality. So imagine going through MRI, coming out, and suddenly having out-of-body experiences, suddenly having access to different realms. And it was actually several people. And totally that makes sense. It's incredible. And so here you see that our ascension has to do with the repair and restoration of the natural electromagnetic field. Time for a doctor appointment, right? Exactly. That's what I was thinking. But of course, as mystics, how do we create electromagnetic field? We do it through inner practices. Um, Let me see. I just want to see. So, our nervous system, as you know, is a conductor for cosmic energy. Most people have actually damaged nervous system, and not that they know about it. I think the vast majority of human beings have actually damaged nervous system without knowing about it. That means the nervous system only perceives through five senses and gives us a picture of what we call reality, limited to the third dimension and even less than that. So as mystics, we use incredible techniques of inner energy manipulation, where we take us as a human being and we take it to the next level, next level, next level. Every meditation, we move energy, we use our breath, and we use the emanation of our heart and the spine. So we use many different techniques. It has to be movement of energy through pranayama and chanting as well, of course. So then it eventually gives us access to the inner tree of life, our own access. We can restore our own electromagnetic field. And even though we still look like humans and we have human bodies and we'll have a face, the inner workings now is completely different. So the veils are lifted from within, from the delusion of the very, very sticky personality self and what we call, false matrix, samsara, 3D reality. We go into the divine reality beyond the five senses. So beyond, imagine what it means to go beyond your five senses. This world, if it is a world, this realm was manipulating us through the mind and also time. So it was very often referred to as mind and time matrix. It was disconnecting us constantly through the inner dialogue, through inner thought, which was very often random. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but it's like, where did this come from? And so it was manipulating our thought, our body, and our emotions, disconnecting us by design from the immortal self that we are, the divine self. The divine self is thoughtless, so we cannot know something that is thoughtless through thought. We can teach about it, but it can only be known when our human mind, the lower human mind, becomes thoughtless. So many of you work with Orin, and we will here work with Orin as well, and hopefully we get to continue. Hopefully we will again get the permission from the Foundation of Orin and Daben to continue working with Orin in this year. But when you listen to Orin, you obviously are using the sense of listening. But if you can focus on the spine, if you can focus on the heart, if you can focus on the third eye, and then listen to several Orin's transmissions, one after the other. So maybe after the first one, you will get into a deeper state of meditation. Maybe after the second one, you will be in a deeper state of meditation. And maybe in the third one, your third eye will open and you will see through your third eye. So it takes some practice, some energetic shape-shifting to be able to actually experience the threshold of liberation and to be in the divine self. Now, I talk about this all the time, right? You heard me talk about the divine self, the personality self, the difference, the I am, and then the personality being deep in delusion. So when I announce this call, I often get some responses from people, usually very nice emails, but I also now and again get super rude emails. And I got this very rude email from a guy, and it was an invitation to a free call. So nobody is paying for anything. These calls are free. Come and go as you please. And this man told me in a very rude manner that he already is his divine self and that a woman has nothing to teach him. So that tells you, but I'm only sharing this story so that you know how deep the delusion runs. So let's say there's a person who is already feeling self-realized. He already believes he's his divine self, and yet sends a rude email saying that a woman has nothing to teach him. So there you have it. And so we, of course, recognize delusion for what it is. I would never respond to anything like that. But the thing is that that tells you about the depth of delusion. And of course, the delusion gets really, really deep when someone believes they already have embodied the divine self. And so instead of acting as the divine self, they act like a completely trapped personality self, and even on top of it being rude. And so, isn't that incredible? And so we have rotten apples and nice and juicy apples in this world, and we want to be the nice and juicy apple. What determines our juiciness as an apple is our contact with the divine self. We all might find different ways to contact the divine self. My own process, I've shared here many, many times. I do believe from all my experiences as a mystic that the divine self cannot be contacted through the mind that we have as a human being. So for that, we need to do some breathing. We need to do some chanting. We need to be able to move energy from the base of the spine to our third eye or the crown, and then go into meditation. We also do some stretching. So it is a holistic system. So in this holistic system, we are actually making our energy more and more whole. We want to be the toroidal field. The toroidal field is the electromagnetic flow of energy around us. And so we want to build ourselves up for meditation so that we can realize the one and only true self, and to express divine consciousness, which is always kind, which is always loving, but it can be firm but not rude, through the body, mind, and actions. And so this is our goal here. And that is the goal for everyone. The way that I think about this world is that we came here to assist with the liberation, not only the liberation of the planet, but liberation of our brothers and sisters, the children of God, who got stuck in the mud of samsara, who got stuck in the mud of unconsciousness. And the way to pull someone out is to give them tools, to give them the ladder that they can climb upon. And that ladder is the ladder that leads to our divine self. The personality self is very impatient, never has enough time, doesn't want to sit still, always wants to think about something that is not the divine self. So in this world, probably you've experienced, maybe not, that people go on a diet. And so they use willpower to go on a diet. They force themselves, that takes a lot of willpower, to eat certain things and not eat other things. That's what's called a diet. And so we all want to be on a diet from the personality self. So to be quite strict and firm with the personality self and saying, not now. I am my I am presence, and I am making contact with my divine self. And you, personality self, you will be starved into dissolution. So dissolving that personality self so that the divine self can be in charge of our being. So as children of God, we have rainbow light within us. And every child of God, when they are in their divine self, is always very kind and very helpful, always very compassionate, just like I mentioned, Renee and Austin and the Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. We all might express our kindness and gifting in different ways, but there is something about the rainbow light. It is always pure love. Whether that love is expressed or not, it might be just by being here in this world and being all love, that's your service. I often don't want to know anything about this world. I always ask my husband, don't read to me anything, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know anything about this world because I don't want to have it in my awareness. Yogananda even said that our thoughts are often not our own thoughts. They come from a field. It's not ignorance. I care deeply, just like you do. But it is better to be focused on the divine self and be of service than to be poisoned by the delusion of this world. Delusion, true delusion. And again, you will know how deep it goes, and maybe you already know how deep it goes. And so we often hear share mantras, the mantras that I use, the mantras that many of you have used. We often chant the sky mantra every day if you can. Our day is a natural cycle in this world. In this world, we have a day. In this world, we have a night. And so in the morning, our biology, our physiology wakes us up. And in that moment, also delusion will try to pull us through thoughts. And so that's why we want to be on a diet, not a diet when it comes to food, but always starving delusion within. And instead feeding the divine self within through different tools, whatever tools you love. But there are some tools that are extremely powerful. I often meet with different mystics, and I often meet with, fellow mystics and fellow yogis on the path of self-realization. I often meet with those who travel out of body through Shavasana like I do. Because, it's like kind of coming together and sharing the puzzle pieces and making sense of things. And I often also see people who have so much goodwill, they try so hard and they use different spiritual tools and techniques, but they get nowhere. And so I always want to share those techniques and tools that will and always get us somewhere better, somewhere more into the divine self, more into divine consciousness, which has nothing to do with the personality self. Personality self is the biggest delusion and trap in this world, and it is by design created. And it is something that we are exposed to at an early age, of course, not only through our caretakers, but by the system that was designed to trap us in the mind and time matrix. But there are tools that can liberate the being. The way that they liberate is that sound has the power to move matter. Now, matter is not only what we see, matter is also energy that can surround us. And it can be invisible to us, but it is always energy that surrounds us, and it can be very, very heavy. It can be so heavy that when you see it through your third eye, you might see people truly living under a boulder, a huge giant rock, sometimes under a mountain of energy. And that is what we call burden. So how do you liberate yourself when you are existing under a heavy boulder? Is, how do you get out? How do you escape that delusion sitting on top of us? Well, sound can drill through it. Sound can explode all energy around us, and sound can liberate us. And that is the purpose of mantras. When we still lived in the false matrix was the interdimensional spaces around the earth. It very much looked to me always as if you had walls around this planet, as if you had buildings around this planet with walls and rooms, and humanity would be, really trapped in these interdimensional spaces. So at night you could see it. There was no transcendence, no ascension happening, only for very few. And one day when I was out of body, I had this idea to actually use sound to explode these structures. And I can tell you, when you hit the right, people would call it pronunciation, but actually it's a tone, it's a frequency. When you hit the right frequency of a sacred sound, it happens rarely, but that's why we repeat, not because we need the repetitions, but we simply experiment to find the right frequency, the right tone that can create such a huge change where you could explode a structure with sound. Of course, ancient civilizations knew about the power of sound, and they would levitate, big blocks of stone and even use sound like laser. So when you chant certain sounds and certain mantras, you are actually every single moment, whether you see it or not, whether you know it or not, whether you realize it or not, you are changing your life. You are always making it better. Life is something that is a result. It is cause and effect. And so whatever surrounds us, whatever energy we have co-created, whatever we attracted to us, can be transformed. And it can be transformed through different mantras. I only use mantras that I have seen to be incredibly powerful with my third eye, where that boulder is moved in one session. And I've experienced this again and again and again. There are even sediments and these blockages around our sacred hearts. Of course, through the false matrix, we have become partially, sometimes totally numb, desensitized, and sometimes hurt and wounded. And so when we want to truly reopen the sacred spaces within us, again, mantra will do that. So I've shared several mantras in the past, definitely the Sky Mantra every morning, but also many of you know the Shakti Gayatri Mantra. That is a real power bomb. It is an incredible rocket that can move through all these energetic burdens around us. It is a combination of two extremely powerful mantras and sounds. Not only does it have Om, not only do we repeat it 3 times, it also has the 3 direct sound forms of Divine Mother. I'm looking outside here at Mount Shasta, and there are miracles happening as we speak as well. And so this is a combination. I haven't found the good singing version of this mantra online at all. For example, in Swami Kaleshwar, all the students, they use it. And today they will be doing fire homas. They will be using this powerful Shakti Gayatri mantra. So the first part is invoking Divine Mother, and that alone is life-changing. When Swami Kaleshwar spoke about the Shakti Gayatri mantra, he said, just this mantra will instantaneously remove many layers of what we call karma around us. Yes, if you have found a good version, please let me know. So it is combined with the Gayatri mantra. Now, the Gayatri mantra is that Deva? Yeah, I want the combination of Shakti Gayatri, not just the Gayatri. And so the combination. I found one, but I don't like it. But it's just because it doesn't have the sound of divinity that it would have to be. It will connect you actually with the grand central sun. And again, I share knowledge from experience, never from what you find online. Because if you find something online, like, how do you know it's true? And we will speak about that. But as I was chanting the Gayatri mantra, I realized that it actually is the sound from the grand central sun. And so when you chant it, you are attuning your consciousness to the sound of the grand central sun, because all spheres, all suns, all stars have their own music. We call it the music of the spheres. And so the Gayatri mantra is the sound, the music of the grand central sun. So yes, Alex Atterman, she uses it. All the students of Kaleshwar Divine Mother School, they use it. But what I have done is I reached out. I'm gonna play it here just a little bit so that you hear it. And it's a version I don't love, but it is a version. So that's one version. And then we have, when you go to Divine Mother School, then they have the pronunciation. So I'll just play it.
Om Aim 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 Kleem 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 Saum 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 Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Aim 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 Kleem 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 Saum 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 Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat.
And so, you know how in the past our team has co-created the Maravati, such a beautiful, incredible hymn of the new earth. So we will also create the Shakti Gayatri mantra and make it so beautiful. I reached out to Prashanti Paz. So I really have been enjoying Prashanti Paz. She is from Argentina, lives in Holland, and she does meditations in Portugal. And I really love the Kalki mantra. And so we offered, to obviously financially, I don't want to say pay, but exchange with Prashanti that she will create the Gayatri mantra. And so she accepted, and so amazing. She will be working with actually very well known musicians to create the Gayatri mantra, the Shakti Gayatri mantra, and also with music producers who have received multiple Grammys. And she will be working with a musician. And I don't know, I actually don't know much about this music, but my husband told me it's a famous band, Pearl Jam, apparently. And apparently they had a lady who was playing the violin, and that lady will be playing the violin for this mantra. So, oh, okay, excellent. So this is really, really exciting. So I will keep you posted about the project, and we will also be creating a music video. Why? Oh, okay. So you guys know Pearl Jam. That's really funny. That's amazing. So I'm really excited. So Divine Mother came to me a few weeks ago and she said, I want this mantra to be so beautiful. And I just was searching. I was like, has anyone made it beautiful? And she said, I need to anchor myself through this mantra, just like the new earth was anchored through Maravati. And so then I was meditating and she said, reach out to Prashanti. So I reached out to Prashanti, and then Prashanti came back immediately and saying that she 100% is aligned, especially with the energies, of course, of Divine Mother. And then she came back with that exciting news, who will be producing it and the violinist who will be playing the violin in this mantra. Yeah. So this is going to be really incredible. So they started working on it yesterday. So it's going to be, I don't know how long it takes, but I imagine maybe a month or two, we will have our own Shakti Gayatri mantra. This is something that Divine Mother spoke about quite a bit in the past. She always said, I want to be anchored in this world. And so we started building, we did the spirals with rocks, anchoring divine energies into this realm. She said, if you are a writer, write a book, publish a book, have a physical book, anchor divine energies into matter. If you're a painter, paint a painting. If you're a sculptor, make a sculpture. If you are a gardener, create a garden for Divine Mother. It was all about anchoring her divine energies into this realm. And so that's exactly what we do. If you're a singer, you sing a song. If you're a musician, you create music, and so on and so on. And so with that, we will be closing here in a few minutes. I just wanted to just show something which is really, I think, the most important thing in this world right now. This world is the mud, and it's not the world itself, it's the energies in this world. There are beings still in this world who want to constantly be manipulating the energies of this world to keep them low and to keep them chaotic, to keep us in shock. And so the pull is real. That includes the energy that causes suffering, whether that suffering is mental, emotional, physical, that too is part of the manipulation. In a way to keep us disconnected from the divine self, to keep us focused on the world of chaos, to keep us focused on the world of delusion. And so the mystic must do what the mystic can do, to go within, to close eyes, to realize there is a pillar, a vortex of light that actually moves like a spiral and that it can be ascending. And so we want to go up that spiral of ascension that is available to us from within, using our breath, feeling the love for Divine Mother, feeling the love for Divine Father, feeling the love for the Divine Self, transcending delusion within us. You know where it lives. It lives in the body, it lives in the mind, it lives in our emotions. And so we want to transcend delusion within us and go into our soul. Our soul must be self-realized. Get to know your soul. It's important. It is like getting to know your parents. It is important. Where did we come from? We came from the soul. How did we come from the soul? The soul created the dream character that we are. We are a dream of the soul, and so we need to get to know the soul to realize our own source. But when we get to know the soul, we get liberated into even a higher aspect of our consciousness. And that too must be self-realized. We can talk about it again and again and again. And I mentioned it's like having a recipe and you read it and you read it and you read it, but you never cook it and then you never eat it. So we need to cook it and eat it. But the words, they help, the directions, they help, the recipe helps. But finally, it is up to us to close our eyes, to sit down, to starve the personality self, and to feed the divine self within. And so when we have realized the soul, it's a process, then we realize there is something even higher, and that is the divine self. In this world, we found many different names for this aspect of us, and it is spirit itself. Now, when you reach into the dimension of spirit, you might often see the light blue light. It is the electric light blue light that has been so visible for many of us in meditations, and even not in meditations. Very often these days when you talk to someone, you start seeing the light of spirit around. And so, yes, we are in this illusion delusion. And yes, we say a new year just started. And so I'll say, in this so-called new year, we all will have contact with the soul and the spirit. We will follow the recipe. We will cook together. We will eat together and taste together. And we will get to taste the soul and the divine self. And that is our ascension here. We have breath. Please use your breathing technique. Don't allow the pull of delusion to distract you. It wants to distract us, and we will speak about it. The breath is the ascending hum, and it is the sound, internal sound of that breath, and then the descending sa. And that is, again, the sound of your breath. You can also internally chant it, but every day, just a few minutes of breathing. Not only are we in delusion, often the delusion is really blinding us, and it's like a filter upon filter upon filter upon filter, so it's hard to really see anything but delusion. And so the only way to cut through it is to have contact with the divine self. The difference between the personality self and the divine self is so big. They are incomparable. And yet, billions of people in this world have only known their personality self as their reality. So it is not so easy, because it is a little bit like talking to a bunch of crazy people, and you are the only one who's sane. And so when you are sane, you are one with your divine self. And insane is the person who only is one with the personality self of the delusion. So one has to be brave to be able to cut through this. And so how to live? Again, moving forward into this year, we will be often doing these calls. Whenever I can, I'll do these calls. We also have our circle platform where we can have, different events and retreats more often. It is very easy to get onto the platform. It is on the go. We can post, we can share. And so how to live? We will, every time when we do these calls together, shift into a different way of existing, not just living, but existing, inspired by the divine self, creative through the divine self. We will be bringing into this world creations and anchoring them, including, of course, the mantra, to be of service. If you want to already every day use some tools, I recommend going to Orinanda Ben, of course, and there are many, many free tools. And you see the path leads from the burden of personality all the way through the soul into the divine self. They have many free tools in the free meditation room. And so every day, I do it every morning, just, as you wake up, immediately get some Orin going, even if it's 3 minutes, 4 minutes, even if you want to do short, really short meditations, they all are free and available. Many of you worked with us. We were able to do these online retreats. I don't know if we can do those again. We'll see. I'm waiting for the permission. But we worked in one of the online retreats with accelerating your evolution with Orin. And that is something that we want to be using again and again and again. And so if you will be on the call in the evening that I do at my 5 p.m. today, we will be only working with the free tools in the Orin meditation room. We will do several processes from the free meditation room. And if we have time, we will also do Accelerate Your Evolution. If you have this course with Orin, I recommend doing every single journey for 7 days. So starting with the first one, it is the contact with spirit. So it is exactly the graph that I was showing here, where you make contact with spirit. You go beyond the soul. So I'm just doing that for 7 days. 7 days because you want to build such momentum that the energy can actually have a breakthrough. So we want to have a breakthrough. And you might be seeing, you might be feeling, you might be just, having different sensations in your own consciousness. It is very, very powerful. So I recommend if you want to do something, like intense, I like a little bit of intensity when it comes to starving the personality self. And so, getting yourself into a comfortable position and saying, after you've done your breathing techniques, after you chanted some mantra and some om, and then playing maybe 3 journeys with Orin. So going 1, 2, 3. So doing 3 journeys, contact with spirit, absorbing your divine essence, and then making real contact with spirit. And that alone, of course, is life-changing. The personality self might not like it because it might say, whoa, I can't sit for 90 minutes. But yes, we can. And so it is. So again, into the divine self, off we go. So thank you so much. Many blessings to you all.